Beyond the menu, discovering true integrity where you least expect it. You think you know who's watching, but you don't. Not yet. Chloe Davis's hands trembled as she wiped down the counter. She had just served a man, one who she thought was just another customer. But as she caught his eye, she felt a weight in the air, a feeling she couldn't shake. Was he really just a regular diner guest, or was something much bigger at play here? And the real twist? The man wasn't just any diner customer, he held the key to everything she was about to lose. Chloe wasn't looking for trouble. She never had been. She wasn't the kind of person who made waves or picked fights. She believed in showing up, doing her job, and treating people with kindness. That was how she had been raised, simple principles: work hard, respect others, and keep your head down when things got messy. But sometimes doing the right thing had consequences, and she was about to learn that the hard way. For almost 3 years, Sunrise Diner had been her second home. It wasn't fancy, just a local diner on the east side of Springfield, tucked between a gas station and a laundromat. It was the kind of place where truckers stopped for coffee, where families came for Sunday breakfast, and where the waitstaff learned your order before they learned your name. The hours were long, the pay wasn't great, and the management barely cared. But Chloe stuck with it. She had bills to pay. Her rent was already too high for a one-bedroom, and her younger brother, Sam, was in his second year of college. He didn't know she helped cover his textbooks and groceries when their mom couldn't. She never told him, just sent a little extra when she could. That was why she took the double shifts, why she put up with customers who barely looked her in the eye, and coworkers who acted like kindness was a weakness. She had seen things here that made her stomach turn, the way Mia, a senior waitress, treated some customers like they didn't exist while she laughed and flirted with others, how Leo, a newer server, avoided certain tables altogether, how the whole energy of the restaurant changed depending on who walked through the doors. It wasn't just about money. A well-dressed businessman would get smiles and conversation, while a working-class customer in a paint-stained uniform got rushed service. And if someone looked like they might not tip well, some of the staff wouldn't even try. Chloe hated it, but calling it out wasn't an option. She had learned that the hard way. A few months back, she made a comment, just a casual remark about how a table had been waiting too long while Mia leaned by the counter, scrolling through her phone. Mia had looked her dead in the eye and said, "You don't get paid extra for being a saint, Chloe." That was how it was. Either you went along with it, or you learned to keep your mouth shut. Chloe had chosen the latter, until that night. And after that night, nothing would ever be the same again. It was a slow Wednesday evening. The dinner rush had come and gone, and Chloe was at the counter, refilling the sugar dispensers, when the bell above the door jingled. An older man walked in, his clothes clean but slightly worn, nothing flashy, just a simple button-up and slacks. He carried himself with quiet confidence, but there was something in his posture, a brief hesitation as he scanned the room before stepping forward. Chloe recognized that look. She had seen it before, especially in customers who already knew what kind of welcome they were, or weren't, about to get. Sure enough, the response was immediate. Mia, leaning against the counter, didn't even look up from her phone. Leo, who had been joking with another server near the drink station, glanced toward the door, made eye contact with the man for a split second, and then went right back to his conversation. No greeting, no welcome to Sunrise Diner, just silence. Chloe felt the weight of it, thick and uncomfortable. This wasn't an accident. Her coworkers had made a choice. For a second, she considered keeping her head down, staying out of it. It would be easier. It always was. But then she glanced at the man again, the way he stood there, waiting, like he was giving them a chance to prove him wrong, just this once. So Chloe made a choice, too. She wiped her hands on a napkin, grabbed a menu, and walked straight over. "Good evening, sir," she said, her voice warm but casual. "Just you tonight?" The man met her eyes, and something in his expression softened. "Yes, ma'am," he said, his voice steady. Chloe smiled and gestured toward an open booth near the window. "Follow me." "Is this booth okay?" "Perfectly fine," he said as he settled in. She handed him a menu and pulled a pen from behind her ear. Can I start you off with something to drink? Coffee, he said. Black. Coming right up, Chloe said, moving quickly to grab a fresh pot and pour his cup herself. She could feel Mia's eyes on her, feel Leo watching too, but she didn't turn around. As she set the coffee down in front of him, he glanced around the restaurant, then back at her. You the only one working tonight? He asked, his voice low enough that only she could hear. Chloe knew what he meant. She flicked her gaze toward the others, where Mia was now whispering something to Leo, both of them barely even trying to hide their smirks. Feels like it, sometimes, she said. That made him chuckle. He flipped open the menu and scanned the options. What's good here? Chloe tilted her head, thinking. Depends on what you're in the mood for. If you're looking for something solid, the pot roast is made fresh. But if you want my personal favorite, the grilled salmon's the way to go. He raised an eyebrow. Is that so? She nodded. Promise you won't regret it. He smiled, small but genuine. Salmon it is. Chloe jotted it down. Great choice. As she walked back to the kitchen, she heard Mia mutter, just loud enough to be heard, she's wasting her time. Chloe clenched her jaw but kept walking. By the time she placed the order and returned with a fresh coffee refill, she could feel the shift in the air. It was subtle, but it was there, the way Mia's eyes narrowed, the way Leo kept glancing toward the booth like he was waiting for Chloe to slip up or say something she shouldn't. Even Mr. Henderson, the manager, had peeked out from his office, scanning the room before disappearing again. Chloe had the sinking feeling that she had just put a target on her back. But she wouldn't know how bad it was until the next morning. Chloe had barely slept. Something about the way Mia had muttered under her breath, the way Leo had smirked, and the way Mr. Henderson had peeked out of his office gave her a bad feeling. But she told herself she was overthinking. She had done nothing wrong. If anything, she had done exactly what a waitress was supposed to do, serve customers. So why did her stomach twist as she pulled into the Sunrise Diner parking lot the next morning? The air was crisp, the sun barely peeking over the buildings as she grabbed her apron from the passenger seat and slung it over her shoulder. A couple of cars were already in the lot, including Mr. Henderson's. Chloe stepped inside, expecting the usual, Mia and Leo standing around chatting, the kitchen crew prepping for the morning shift, the radio humming low in the background. But something was off. Mia wasn't leaning against the counter like she usually did. Leo wasn't making coffee or cracking jokes with the line cooks. Instead, both of them were watching her. Mia had a sly little smile. Leo had his arms crossed, and neither of them said a word. Chloe's grip tightened on her apron. Then the sound of a door creaking open. Mr. Henderson. He stood in the doorway of his office, looking at her like he had been waiting for her to walk through that door. Chloe, he said flatly. Come with me. A cold pit settled in her stomach. What's this about? Mr. Henderson didn't answer. He just turned and walked back into his office. Chloe swallowed hard. She could feel Mia and Leo still watching her as she made her way to the back. She took a breath, squared her shoulders, and stepped inside. The office was cramped, the desk covered in paperwork and old coffee stains. A file sat open in front of Mr. Henderson, but he wasn't looking at it. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, let out a slow breath, and said, "We're letting you go." The words hit like a slap. Chloe blinked, her mind scrambling to make sense of what she had just heard. What? Mr. Henderson's expression didn't change. It's not working out. Her heart pounded. Not working out? I've been here almost 3 years. I've never missed a shift, never been late. Mr. Henderson exhaled through his nose like he was already tired of the conversation. It's a decision we've made. We? Chloe knew what that meant. Her throat tightened. This is because of last night, isn't it? Mr. Henderson didn't confirm it. He didn't have to. His silence was enough. Chloe felt heat rise to her face. So I get fired for doing my job? Mr. Henderson's fingers tapped against the desk. You can collect your final paycheck next week. That was it. No warning, no explanation. Just out. Chloe clenched her fists, but she knew there was no point in arguing. She untied her apron and set it on the chair. As she turned to leave, she hesitated at the door, forcing herself to look back at Mr. Henderson. You know this isn't right, she said, her voice steady. Mr. Henderson didn't even flinch. Chloe shook her head and walked out. Mia was still standing near the counter when she stepped back into the main dining area, a knowing smirk on her face. Leo was pretending to wipe down a table, but he wasn't even trying to hide the look of satisfaction in his eyes. They had been waiting for this moment. Chloe felt her face burn, not with embarrassment, but with anger. She wanted to say something, wanted to call them out, make a scene, demand to know how they could be so heartless. But she didn't. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction. She lifted her chin, walked past them without a word, and pushed through the doors into the cold morning air. For the first time in 3 years, she had no job, no paycheck, no backup plan. She got into her car, slammed the door shut, and gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. Her breath came in short, sharp bursts. How is she going to pay rent? How is she going to help Sam with his groceries? How is she? Her phone buzzed. Chloe ignored it at first, staring blankly at the windshield, her thoughts spiraling. Then she glanced at the screen, unknown number. She hesitated, then with a shaking hand, answered. Hello? A deep voice came through the line, steady and familiar. Chloe, this is Elias Thorne. Chloe frowned. I'm sorry, who? The man you served last night at Sunrise Diner. Her breath caught. Oh. Yes, sir. How can I help you? There was a pause. Then Elias said, I heard what happened. Chloe's stomach twisted. Of course he had. News traveled fast in places like Sunrise Diner. Yeah, well, she said, forcing out a bitter laugh. I guess I should have just ignored you like everyone else. Elias's next words made her freeze. That's exactly why I'm calling. Chloe's grip on the phone tightened. She had no idea why Elias Thorne, just another customer, or so she thought, was calling her the morning after she had been fired. Her heart pounded as she sat up straighter in the driver's seat. I'm sorry, what do you mean? There was a pause on the other end. Then Elias's voice came through, steady and deliberate. I wasn't just there for dinner last night, Chloe. I was there to see how my employees treat people. Chloe blinked. Your employees? I own Sunrise Diner, Elias said simply. For a moment, the words didn't even register. She sat frozen, her breath caught somewhere between disbelief and shock. I'm sorry, what? You heard me, he said. I own this place. Chloe pressed her fingers to her temple. So you're telling me you own this place, and last night you were, what? Checking in? More or less, Elias said. I make it a habit to visit my restaurants unannounced. No formal inspections, no warning. I come in as just another customer. That's how you learn the truth about how a business is being run. Chloe's chest felt tight. And what did you learn? Elias sighed. That I have a serious problem with my staff. Chloe let out a humorless laugh. Yeah, no kidding. There was another pause. Then Elias asked, how long have you worked there? Almost 3 years, she said. 3 years, and I've never missed a shift, never been late. I keep my head down, do my job, and treat people like human beings. She exhaled, frustration creeping into her voice. But apparently, that was enough to get me fired. That's exactly why I'm calling, Elias said. Chloe furrowed her brows. I don't understand. Elias was quiet for a moment before he spoke again. I let them fire you on purpose. Her stomach dropped. You what? I needed to see what they would do, Elias explained. I wanted to know if this was just about bad service, or if it was something deeper. And now I have my answer. Chloe shook her head. So you let them throw me out just to prove a point? I know it wasn't fair, Elias admitted. But now I know exactly who I can't trust to run my business the way it should be run. Chloe felt her pulse thumping in her ears. And what does that mean for me? There was a shift in Elias's tone, something firm, almost authoritative. It means I need someone I can trust, he said. I need someone who actually understands what it means to run a restaurant fairly. Someone who doesn't pick and choose who gets treated with dignity based on their own prejudices. Chloe frowned. I still don't see what this has to do with me. Elias's next words stopped her cold. I want you to come back, he said. As the new manager. Chloe's breath caught, her brain scrambled to process what she had just heard. What? You heard me, Elias said. I fired your man this morning. Mr. Henderson's done. Chloe's mouth fell open. Mia and Leo were going to lose their minds. I know this is sudden, but I'm not interested in anyone else taking over, Elias continued. You understand what matters in a workplace. You know how people should be treated. That's exactly what Sunrise Diner needs. Chloe swallowed hard. I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can, Elias said firmly. And you should. She stared out the windshield, her mind spinning. Less than 24 hours ago, she had been tossed aside like she didn't matter. And now she was being offered the very position of the man who had fired her. She took a slow breath. What do you say? Elias asked. Chloe hesitated. She could still hear Mia's mocking voice, Leo's smug silence, Mr. Henderson's dismissive tone. They had counted her out, thought they had gotten rid of her for good. But now she had a chance to be the change they never saw coming. Chloe lifted her chin, gripping the phone a little tighter. I'll do it, she said. Elias let out a satisfied breath. Good. Come in tomorrow morning. You start at 8. Chloe nodded, even though he couldn't see her. I'll be there. As she hung up, she sat in stunned silence for a moment, gripping the wheel as the reality of it all sank in. Less than a day ago, she had walked out of Sunrise Diner with nothing. Tomorrow, she would be walking back in as the boss. And she wasn't coming to play nice. Chloe stood outside Sunrise Diner, gripping the strap of her bag. The morning air was sharp, the kind that cut right through your clothes, but she barely felt it. She had spent all night thinking about this moment. Yesterday, she had walked out of this building with nothing, no job, no explanation, no respect. Today, she was stepping back in with the one thing Mia, Leo, and Mr. Henderson had never imagined she would have, power. She inhaled deeply, squared her shoulders, and pushed open the door. The scent of fresh coffee and bacon filled the air, just like it always had. Customers were scattered across the booths, forks clinking against plates, the low hum of conversation blending with the radio playing in the background. At first, nobody noticed her. Then Mia turned from the counter, saw her, and froze. Leo, who had been laughing with a busboy, caught sight of her too, his mouth snapping shut mid-sentence. A flicker of something, confusion, unease, crossed his face. It was almost too perfect. Chloe let the moment stretch just long enough for them to squirm before walking toward the counter and setting her bag down with purpose. Mia recovered first. She scoffed, crossing her arms. What the hell are you doing here? Chloe tilted her head. You'll find out soon enough. Mia's smirk faltered. Before she could say anything else, a door opened at the back of the restaurant. Mr. Henderson stepped out from the office, already looking irritated, flipping through a stack of papers. Mia, I need you to. Then he saw her. His whole body went rigid. His eyes flicked to Mia, then Leo, like he was trying to piece together what was happening. Chloe, he said slowly. You don't work here anymore. Chloe smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Actually, she said, I do. Mr. Henderson blinked. What? Another voice cut in before she could answer. I believe I can clarify that. Every head in the room turned. Mr. Elias Thorne walked in, calm and collected as ever, his hands in the pockets of his tailored coat. He scanned the room, taking his time before landing on Mr. Henderson. Mia's face paled. Leo looked like he wished he could disappear. Mr. Henderson opened his mouth, then closed it. Elias stopped beside Chloe and turned to face the staff. His voice was steady, measured, but carried authority. As of this morning, Sunrise Diner has undergone some management changes, he said. Effective immediately, Mark, your position is terminated. Mia gasped. Leo looked like he had been punched in the gut. Mr. Henderson's face turned an ugly shade of red. Wait a damn minute. Elias cut him off. I've already heard enough from you. Mr. Henderson's mouth snapped shut. Chloe almost felt bad. Almost. Elias turned toward the rest of the staff. Some of you may be wondering what's going on. Let me make it simple. Last night, I visited this restaurant as a regular customer. He let the words sink in. And what I witnessed was unacceptable. Nobody dared to speak. Elias gestured toward Chloe. This woman was the only employee who treated me with respect. The only one who did her job the way it should be done. He turned back to the staff, his expression hardening. The rest of you? Some of you ignored me completely. Some of you made it clear you had no interest in serving certain customers at all. His voice sharpened. That ends today. The silence in the restaurant was thick. Then Elias turned back to Chloe. Chloe is your new manager. Mia's mouth fell open. Leo's jaw clenched. The busboy standing near the kitchen looked like he wanted to clap. Chloe finally let herself smile. She turned toward Mia and Leo, who were still stunned silent, and leaned against the counter. Well, she said lightly, this is awkward. Mia's expression twisted. She turned to Elias, her voice sharp. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm very serious, Elias said. You don't like it, you're free to leave. Mia snapped her mouth shut, her nostrils flaring. She wasn't stupid. She knew walking out meant losing her paycheck, and Mia wasn't about to do that. Leo, on the other hand, wasn't as smart. This is bull. Elias cut him off. You're welcome to quit as well. Leo froze, his mouth opened, then closed like he was doing the math in his head. Mia glared daggers at Chloe, but Chloe just smiled back. Looks like we all have a lot of adjusting to do, she said, her voice light but firm. So, let's get to work. She watched as Mia stormed toward the coffee machine, mumbling under her breath. Leo grabbed a rag and started wiping down a table, his movement stiff with anger. Elias gave Chloe a knowing look. I have a feeling you'll do just fine here. Chloe exhaled, watching as the restaurant settled into a new reality, one where she was in charge. And for the first time since she walked into this building 3 years ago, she felt something she hadn't before, respect. The next few weeks were interesting. Chloe had expected resistance, she welcomed it. Mia barely spoke to her unless necessary, her usual smirk replaced with tight-lipped silence. Leo sulked through every shift, making it painfully obvious that he was only sticking around because he had no better options. A few other servers who had always played along with the old culture of favoritism gritted their teeth and adjusted. Some didn't. A couple of employees quit in the first week. They didn't bother giving notice, just stormed out when it became clear that the way things used to work, the unspoken rules about who deserved good service and who didn't, were over. Chloe didn't lose sleep over it. She wasn't here to make friends. She was here to make things right. She spent her first days as manager watching, taking note of who was actually putting in the work, who was resistant to change, and who just needed a push in the right direction. And slowly, things did start to change. Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.